First Nation groups, and today is a boundary area between the Wadawurrung Aboriginal Corporation and the Eastern Maar Aboriginal Corporation. The community vision is a 10-year vision. There's also a health and wellbeing plan and an asset management plan and other aspects to it, but the council plan is at the core. It has 7 themes and 19 strategies, and I'm going to go through the themes. So the first theme is First Nations reconciliation, and we've spoken a little bit about that. At the moment, strategy 1 is to work with traditional owners towards reconciliation, and our main piece of work that we're working on is called a Reflect RAP, or Reconciliation Action Plan, and that's a work in progress. So that's the first of a prescribed list of reconciliation action plan steps, so that's the beginning of that journey. The second strategy under that theme is to reflect traditional owners' perspectives in our business and our decision making. There's a lot under each of these things, but for the sake of brevity, I'm going to skim through them. One activity that the councillors undertook recently was a walk on country with Karina Eccles from the Wadawurrung Aboriginal Corporation, which was fantastic. And also recently we were at the Stribling Reserve opening in Lorne, where we had a fantastic welcome to country and a truth-telling session from the Eastern Maar Aboriginal Corporation, which was, I think, Robin, the first time that we've had an official interaction with them, and it went really well. And it was, they're sort of a fledgling organisation. All of them struggle with capacity because that's just the nature of things, a result of dispossession and fracturing and things over obviously many generations. So we're sort of undertaking this journey with them to sort of regain some capacity and try and rise up together, I guess. The First Nations reconciliation theme is also very strong with G21 and with the Great Ocean Road Coast and Parks Authority. I'm sure we'll hear about that when Libby and Danny join us. Theme 2 is Healthy Connected Community, which is what it says. Strategy 3 is all about prioritising social infrastructure and open space, and particularly with that we're mindful of the need for place-sensitive social infrastructure. So here in Aireys, I know from my first experiences with Gork, as I mentioned, that it's imperative to be place-sensitive, and that one thing that's good and that's agreeable to people's tastes and preferences in one place is not necessarily in another. And it's important in a place like Aireys. I remember then thinking a lot about the sort of unpolished, unrefined, uncomplicated, unpretentious kind of characteristics, and those are things that we know are really important in social infrastructure. So we're very mindful of bringing that kind of mindset to it. So we have a social infrastructure plan being drafted at the moment. I have a few key points about that. It will guide how we plan and invest in community places, spaces and services. There's a massive data collection activity involved in that, and that's now complete, including baseline social and needs data, service estimation and provision data, updated asset condition and value, fit for purpose audits, and councillors will be briefed on that in May. We then move into an analysis and draft strategy phase in May and June, exhibit the draft plan in June and July with opportunities for public input, and then later on reporting on the public exhibition findings and finalising the plan. Strategy 5, so still under the theme of healthy connected community, is moving around without relying on cars. So we've got a lot of work to do in the Surf Coast municipality on that, in that regard, and I know that the AIDA'S Sharing Roads Safely survey, which I read just recently, which was a fantastic piece of work, has really interesting findings around people's perceptions on cycling and pedestrian access, which is really helpful. I also joined Catherine McNaughton and family members on is Catherine here?
No.
No? on a cycling tour of Aireys and Fairhaven recently, which was really instructive, and we chatted a lot about the standard of pathways, the missing links and disconnectivity of the pathway network, which is an issue right from all through the municipality. And where we have large towns like Torquay, it doesn't make sense for people to be as dependent on cars in those towns, so we've got a lot of work to do there. We also have e-mobility as a major issue. There's a bad side to it. Some people are intimidated by e-bikes and e-scooters, but there's also an obvious fantastic environmental upside being electrically powered and renewably powered, hopefully entirely in the future, and a fantastic new age of mobility. So we're trying to get our heads around how we can facilitate that and have appropriate infrastructure. Another one is gravel pathways came up during the tour with Catherine McNaughton, which obviously everybody knows that Aireys loves gravel. NBC does as well. I'm a gravel lover as well. But some of those pathways that we covered with Catherine and that I'm familiar with, having managed the Surf Coast Walk redevelopment years ago, perform really badly as kind of arterial pathways for people to take on bikes and even for pedestrians on steeper slopes. So that's an issue for us as well moving forward. Strategy 6 is around enabling communities and strengthening and supporting community life. So there we have an example is the 3231 Community Action Network, which I'm on with several others here from the room, which is a fantastic forum set up during the COVID period for people to stay in touch with each other, but certainly to roll on an ongoing basis, because it's just such a good way to periodically check in, exchange news and priorities and put action items together. We also have the Community Grants Program, which everybody would be familiar with. It was reviewed last year, and councillors are to consider some recommendations about that going forward, including potentially some increased funding so that we can get more out of that team and out of that fantastic program. We have the Community Projects Program, which delivered the Hooded Plover mural here, as far as I can recall. Correct me if I'm wrong. And a whole bunch of other fantastic projects like the Anglesey War Memorial that was recently opened. And I also want to acknowledge, on the theme of enabling communities and community strength, the fantastic work of Aireys Inlet Rural Australians for Refugees, which is a group that I really admire, and the work that they're doing is fantastic. It's a great example of what the Aireys district is so good at. Theme 3 is environmental leadership. Need to hurry up, don't I? So strategy 7, protect habitats, landscapes and biodiversity. Again, it's pretty obvious what that's about. Examples here are the rubbish ranges, Jackie, and others. It's been just fantastic to see that thrive in Aireys, spread to Anglesey and now to Torquay. So congratulations for that. We also have a potential cat curfew, which is in our domestic animal management plan review. The cat curfew was set aside as a possibility that required some further sort of research and consideration. And I saw Richard and Suzanne's cat run, which was just inspirational, which is on the outside wall of the house, isn't it? So the cat can go out and it's just a fantastic sort of an obstacle course and exercise circuit for the cat. So I think things like that. I've got a couple of photos. We're going to have to educate people about how they can exercise cats and enjoy having cats and give the cat a good life and an active and healthy life, but without the toll on wildlife. We also have very important is partnerships with other agencies. Obviously, the council isn't the direct land manager of a lot of high biodiversity value estate. So we have a role as a land manager, but we also have a role as a good neighbour and a good partner to other agencies like the Authority and Parks Victoria. We also have some fantastic private land stewardship here in the Panker Lake Valley, which I'd like to acknowledge as well, which has been really exciting. Also in Spring Creek Valley, by the way, between Belgrade and Torquay, there's some really great private land stewardship, which is a fantastic thing. So strategy 8, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We have a climate emergency action plan, which is the main home for those actions. We're now a signatory to VECO, which is the Victorian Energy Collaboration, so the Shire is using 100% renewable energy. And the main issue in greenhouse gas emissions is legacy emissions from the Anglesey landfill. So methane produced from the breakdown of waste that's been there for decades, partly captured and partly flared to turn the methane into carbon dioxide, which is a less potent greenhouse gas. But we still have, that's why it's so hard for us to get down to zero emissions, because the Anglesey landfill is something that we can only partially capture and deal with. Strategy 9, divert material from the waste stream. So the 4-bin system is a really big part of that. Waste to landfill is down by 32% over the first 12 months of the 4-bin system. So that's a huge gain. Organic waste recovered is up almost half over the previous 12 months. We have 1,600 tonnes of glass which is recovered, processed and reused. So that's actually not glass to glass. That's glass to a sand, basically a fine powder, which is used as an aggregate in road bases and things like that. So obviously, all of us, our whole society, has a lot of work to do to be not downcycling like that, but to be, glass to glass or reusing containers. Again, Joe Murray's done fantastic work with the Repair Cafe in Anglesey, and also the Library of Things proposal, which are great circular economy proposals, which we're very keen to move forward with. We also have the Regional Organics Network project, which is managed by Bowen Water at Black Rock at the main sewage treatment plant. The plan is there to use organic wastes, including the green bin, food organics, garden organics waste, plus human waste through the sewer, to produce biogas and biosolids and biochar. So to produce high value soil products plus renewable energy via the biogas. So that's a really exciting one too, where in future hopefully our green bin wastes will be going to that, and we'll be getting much more value out of it than the current situation, which is that they're trucked to Shepparton for processing. We also have new bin contracts for public place bins and domestic bins. Strategy 10 is about adaptation to changing climate. We saw with recent floods that we have those 1 in 100 year occurrence interval rainfall events are likely to become more like 1 in 10 year events. So that kind of intensity is going to occur more often. Those are the kind of things that we need to get our heads around with regard to drainage infrastructure and that kind of thing. Again, gravel roads, drains and pathways don't cope very well with that, so that's another thing that needs to be thought about. So protect heritage and town character is strategy 11 under this theme of sustainable growth. Again, this is one that we know is very close to the AIDA mission. Charlotte's been talking to us about the freehold land around the lighthouse and how important it is to try and minimise the impact of building development on that land, which people are entitled to do. So we have a tricky balance to try and work within the planning scheme where people have rights to develop land, and to try and make sure that it happens in ways that are as sensitive as possible to the local landscape. And one thing that should help with that is the Great Ocean Road Strategic Framework Plan, which is a big project that DELP is undertaking. It's essentially like the Distinctive Areas and Landscapes project, which has just been completed for the Torquay, Janjuk area, but for down this part of the coast. So it'll be looking at things like settlement boundaries, built form, zoning. There may be potential for different zonings which are more sensitive to local character. Robin may be able to add to that through questions if you like, but I'll leave it on that for the moment. We also have an affordable accommodation crisis. So rental vacancies are extremely low. In Lawn, we put a lot of work into worker accommodation for last summer, only to find that there weren't all that many workers to accommodate. So the whole thing has been really challenging, but I guess it's been a chance for us to sort of, to skill up. We've got new capacity. We have had a full-time officer working on this stuff, and our capacity, our sort of toolkit has been expanding all the time. So theme 5.
If you want to cut it shorter and send us your notes, I'll put them in with the minutes.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Okay. I was going to do that anyway, but I'll skim through. So under the robust and diverse economy, we've got probably pretty unreadable, but those orange blobs that are on there are home-based businesses. So we have an incredible array of home-based businesses. So since 2000, more than 5,800 home-based businesses in the Shire. So I think for towns like Aireys, people here would have thought about this a lot, I'm sure. The narrative that's sometimes used to justify new development, being that the towns are struggling, that the populations are ageing, and that there's not the work to sustain people. Things like this are the other side of that story. So, in fact, with new ways of working, people are able to take their work with them, establish new lives in places like this. And Anglesey, I know the situation well. I'm surrounded by home-based businesses and have one in our house. It can only be a great thing for our towns, and it's attracting really smart, energetic people. I hope it's true in Aireys that they're really contributing to local life. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's a fantastic story, which I won't go into anymore. Businesses with local flavour and values is strategy 15. So again, that's really important. We really don't want any old business, any business is welcome, but we're really mindful of trying to develop local flavour. So businesses that show off the best of the place, that are scaled appropriately to the place, and that sort of bring an appreciative sort of sensibility around the place that they're situated in. And again, it's really important for towns like Aireys and Anglesey that have a really strong and distinctive local character. Strategy 13 is around the right kind of tourism, which again is very much like that. It's about local flavour, it's about sustainability and sort of regenerating the essential characteristics of the place. And I've talked a lot with Suzanne, whose expertise I really appreciate. And again, it's a great part of what we can tap into with AIDA about trying to get that right. Arts and creativity. People with clever and creative ideas can make a difference. That's strategy 16, which is pretty obvious. It's recognising that we have a great energy and great talent pool there that we can tap into, make the Shire a real arts and culture powerhouse. Accountable and viable council is really about people's trust in their council, our credibility, our ability to run our finances, our governance and things like that well. That was it for my notes. So thanks, and Robin and I are here to answer any questions.